It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and once again, lightning round reviews this time around. We're going through October 1st, 1993, and going all the way to December 3rd, 1993. 10 weeks. Uh, Not quite as many movies as yesterday, but 42 movies to look at. Same rules apply. I'm going to try to get these reviews in less than 60 seconds each. We'll see what happens. So, let's not waste any more time. Oh, by the way, like before, settle in, grab some popcorn, grab something to eat, grab something to drink, because we're going to be stuck here for a while. So, let's begin. We'll start off on October 1st with 6 movies here, including the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Alec Baldwin and Nicole Kidman in Malice.
MD from Harvard. I am board certified in cardiothoracic medicine. I have been awarded citations from 7 different medical boards. When someone goes into that chapel and they pray to God that their wife doesn't miscarry or that their daughter doesn't bleed to death, who do you think they're praying to? You ask me if I have a God complex? I am God.
Malice, rated R, at theaters October 1st.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin probably shouldn't be saying something like that nowadays, especially after what happened last year. But this is Malice. It's Alec Baldwin, Nicole Kidman, Bill Pullman, directed by Harold Becker, co-written by Aaron Sorkin. I love Aaron Sorkin writing. I love his writing that he does for most of his movies, but this is probably the weakest movie he's ever written. It's a movie that's really not quite as good as it should be. I think Aaron Sorkin himself has even admitted that this is not a very good movie. It's kind of too predictable. What you think is going to happen happens. What happens is there's nothing really exciting. There's no big surprise twist that actually works here. It's just kind of a mediocre thriller. Despite the great talent involved, the great writing involved, it's just not a movie that didn't work for me. It's a movie that didn't work for me, I should say. So, that's Malice. On to the next movie, Cool Runnings.
In the classic tradition of Disney entertainment comes a gold medal winner for the whole family, Cool Runnings. It's the story of 4 unlikely athletes
It's a bobsledding to the real man.
who believed in themselves and did the impossible.
Where did these guys come from?
Don't miss the movie critics are calling the year's best family film,
I am feeling very Olympic today.
Cool Runnings, rated PG. Now playing at a theater near
Disney sports movie, basically based on the story of the Jamaican bobsled team who made their debut in the 1988 Winter Olympics. And it's a very fun Disney sports film. John Candy is very good in here. It's got a great cast overall, a really fun story that actually plays pretty well here in this setup. And it's just a movie that's just lighthearted fun. It's a movie that doesn't do anything exciting, doesn't do anything new or different, but it's a very fun, entertaining movie. It's a movie I can watch anytime and be really amazed by it. It's one of Candy's most underrated movies, honestly. This is actually one of his last movies he ever did before he passed away. And I don't know. I don't think this is the last one he did before his death, but it's a great movie overall. It's a great, fun Disney sports movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. So, with that said, on to the next movie, and that is Michael J. Fox in For Love or Money.
Not since The Secret of My Success has Michael J. Fox been so lively and appealing.
A whiz kid.
Some guys see the big picture, some guys don't.
For Love or Money has been called a bright, fast-paced, sophisticated comedy.
Trust me, sir.
Riotously funny.
You have a tumor on your head that looks like a derby.
A perfect Saturday night date movie.
You were great, by the way.
Thanks.
For Love or Money.
Fasten your seatbelt.
Rated PG. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
A very different Barry Sonnenfeld movie when you really think about what he was doing at the time. I mean, before this, he did The Addams Family, and a month later, he would later do Addams Family Values. And those two movies, you could definitely tell, are movies made by Barry Sonnenfeld. This one, not so much. It feels like a formulaic movie, and it's okay for what it is. I think Michael J. Fox and Gabrielle Anwar work off each other very well. It has a couple of very funny moments in there, but not a whole lot there to really say you should definitely check this one out. I only saw it because it has Michael J. Fox in it, and I usually like a lot of the movies that he's in, even some of the lesser ones. So, overall, decent film. Not one you should watch over and over again, but I'm glad I saw it once. It's not one I would say is the best from him or Barry Sonnenfeld. It is a fun little romantic comedy. I'd say watch it once and you'd probably be more than happy with it, with seeing what you saw. So, if that makes any sense. So, on to the next movie, Robert De Niro's directorial debut, A Bronx Tale.
or feared?
I would rather be feared, because fear lasts longer than love.
In a neighborhood ruled by violence, a devoted father must battle the local crime boss for the life of his son.
Sonny, trust me. He'll hurt you like anybody. People don't respect him. They fear him.
Are you going to fight me?
Stay away from my son!
Robert De Niro, A Bronx Tale. Rated R. Special sneak preview Friday and Saturday.
A very underrated movie, and for De Niro, not a bad directorial debut. I'm actually surprised he hasn't done more than this. He only did one other movie as a director, and that was The Good Shepherd, which was not that good of a movie, but this one's very good. It's very stylized, very visually creative, has a great star-making performance for Chazz Palminteri. It's just a well-made movie, and this is based off of his story, his play that he did of the same name, Chazz Palminteri. He also wrote this as well. It's a very good movie. It's a very underrated thriller, a very underrated coming-of-age movie, and it's just a very solid film all around. A Bronx Tale is one that not a lot of people, I don't think, really talk about, but it's definitely one you might want to check out. It's really one of De Niro's most underrated movies, in my opinion. So that's A Bronx Tale. On to the next movie, and that is David Cronenberg's M. Butterfly.
After a century of foreign influence, Asia was about to reclaim herself.
The Red Guard has emerged as a genuinely potent reactionary political force which will seize upon any excuse to justify the expulsion of all foreigners from China.
Onto this immense stage came a diplomat with a romantic vision.
I, René Gallimard, have known and been loved by the perfect woman.
And a performer who brought his fantasy to life.
Probably one of David Cronenberg's lesser movies. There was a good stretch between Scanners in 1981 and Naked Lunch in 1991, where he was making these really good movies of varying types. Scanners, Videodrome, The Dead Zone, The Fly, Dead Ringers, Naked Lunch. And then there was kind of a lull between this and History of Violence, which would come in 2005. It was a good 12 years lull, and this was kind of the start of it. It's a movie that is very aspiring, very intriguing to look at, but I don't know, David Cronenberg, I don't think this was the type of movie that he was really more than capable of doing, and it just kind of takes a great cast overall. You've got Jeremy Irons, John Lone in here. It takes a really good cast and a really good story and just kind of just waters it down. It's not very effective. It's not really all that engaging or exciting. It is a mostly forgettable movie. You probably won't forget about our next movie, and that is Alex Winter's Freaked.
Ricky Coogan, Brat Pack Sleazebag. Elijah C. Scuggs, Freak Show Tycoon, an amateur bioengineer.
I can look at a guy like Kevin Costner and see a giant peach grub.
When fate brought them together, Mr. Scuggs took an average Hollywood slime ball and made something out of him.
So this was co-directed by Alex Winter of Bill and Ted fame. Most notably about this movie, the head of 20th Century Fox, Joe Roth, was actually fired as the studio head, and he was replaced by somebody else who did not like the movie, and so they cut the budget for this. They chose to pull the film from a national release. It had no commercials, no advertising, except for that trailer. And the movie just kind of came and went. It didn't make a whole lot of money and quickly went to video, but became a cult hit in its own right. And you can definitely see why. It is very stylized, it's very creative, very funny, and very bizarre. And it looks like the type of movie that fits that type of the audience that would love something like The Evil Dead, or these movies that are so over-the-top crazy that you can't help but love it. And it really does feel that way. It's so ridiculously insane. It's so insane on so many levels. It's a ton of fun. It's a great little cult film. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Freaked. Moving on to the next movie that we have here as I go to the next page. We move to October 8th with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes in Demolition Man.
In the year 2032, in a peaceful world, two mortal enemies from another time will be unleashed on a future that isn't big enough for the both of them.
I've been dreaming about killing you for 40 years. Keep dreaming.
This display of barbaric behavior was unacceptable even in your time.
Yeah, but it worked.
Sylvester Stallone.
Wesley Snipes, Demolition Man, rated R, starts Friday, October 8th at a theater near you.
Speaking of over-the-top fun, that's exactly what Demolition Man is. It's a movie that I think is very much satirizing the future. It's very much an over-the-top, ridiculous mess of a film, but a good, fun, over-the-top, ridiculous mess of a film. Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes play off each other so well. It's a very funny movie at times. The fact that most of the future is sponsored by Taco Bell, of all things, is just absolutely hilarious to me. It has great lines. The three seashells. I mean, come on, man. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's over-the-top. It's action-packed. It's a ton of fun, man. Demolition Man is a blast. I love it so much, and I think a lot of people do as well. So, and yeah, that's my thoughts on Demolition Man. So, let's go to the next movie. Not quite as memorable as Demolition Man. Richard Gere and Lena Olin in Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones, don't you want to make me ordinary? I want you to be well.
Between a doctor and a patient, friendship is dangerous.
Oh my God. You're a knockout.
Passion is forbidden.
What would you risk everything for?
You cannot see him again. If you do, I will turn you in.
And love is the greatest risk of all.
Is there anything that means that much to you?
Richard Gere, Lena Olin, Mr. Jones.
One of those movies where you could pretty much figure out a way to figure out the dilemma of this movie pretty quickly, and there's just nothing different about it or nothing exciting about it. They take this concept so seriously, like a doctor can't date their patients. It's just like, okay, why not? They're people too. It's not like they're a completely different species altogether, but it's just like, come on, man, you got to be more clever than that. And maybe with a better script, maybe they could have been more clever about it, but there's just nothing here in this movie. It's a very forgettable movie, and it's hard to believe that one of the co-writers for this actually went on to write Forrest Gump, which later would win Best Picture. But we'll get to that movie in a cut list when we get to 94. But yeah, this movie is not going to be memorable whatsoever. It's instantly forgettable, and yeah, nothing good came out of Mr. Jones. So anyway, on to the next movie, which is Gettysburg.
I want this to be the final battle.
Faith made them soldiers.
See you in hell, Billy Yank.
War made them brothers.
See you in hell, Johnny Rep.
Courage made them heroes.
We are an army out to set other men free.
Gettysburg, rated PG.
This is a very odd one because this was originally filmed as a miniseries for TNT, but Ted Turner basically told New Line wanted this to be released in theaters by New Line Cinema, which they did. This is an over 4-hour movie. It's one of the longest films released by a major film studio in the U.S., and it was a hit with critics, and it just didn't do well at the box office, probably because it's an over 4-hour movie, and probably this would have worked better on TV because it's actually not a bad movie. It's a very good film about the story of Gettysburg, and the same people who made this also made Gods and Generals, which was a prequel to this. Also a very good movie, but again, planted this on the big screen knowing that there's a good chance that this wasn't going to make its money back at the box office. But the performances overall are pretty great. Jeff Daniels, Tom Berenger, Martin Sheen, Maxwell Caulfield. Great cast overall. It is a very good movie. I just wish they kind of kept this on television because it didn't do well at the box office, and I don't think there was anything in here that really made this as cinematical as Ted Turner made it out to be. So that's Gettysburg. By the way, I completely forgot about Mr. Nanny with Hulk Hogan. I'll just go into that one real quick. No clip involved, but yeah, Mr. Nanny's not a very good movie anyway. It's not like Suburban Commando was one of those so bad it's good type of movies, but this is a so bad it's bad type of movie. It's like a movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger probably looked at and said, "Oh, there's no way I'm doing this." So, yeah, I don't remember Mr. Nanny being all that good, and can't imagine why anybody else would either. So that's my quick thoughts on Mr. Nanny. That was my fault for not including it in there when I was doing these, but that's just where we are right now. So 43 movies now instead of 42. Anyway, with that said, back to the countdown, or the number of movies I have on here, and we move to the next movie, the film debut of Ashley Judd, Ruby in Paradise.
Well, I could do just about anything right here. I bet it looks like it's...
No, I don't need one.
Are you sure? Because there are plenty of people in here. I'm sure that you could just add me right in, and I could do something just fine for you.
The award-winning feature film debut of an extraordinary new actress. Ashley Judd.
On the edge of the edge. Now it's up to me, to what I want to be.
I think we're gonna carry you.
Every girl's dream.
Movie in Paradise.
Like I said, the feature film debut for Ashley Judd. It's a character study about a young woman who escapes her small town in Tennessee for a new life in coastal Florida. It's a very solid movie, and it works mostly because of the fact that Ashley Judd is in here and really shows that she is a very good actress, and it would later show in movies that came afterwards how good of an actress she can really be. She really does keep the movie afloat, and it's a very solid film. It's a nice little film. Definitely check it out if you want to see her in one of her earliest performances. So, on that note, we move on to the next movie on October 15th, Beverly Hillbillies, the movie.
Hey, Jed Clampett. You just struck oil and made $1 billion. What are you going to do now?
I'm moving us to Beverly Hills.
He was fixing to bite my hand.
That's real nice, son. This here's what I carry.
On October 15th, 20th Century Fox and the director of Wayne's World,
Watch your hands, Granny.
bring you the Beverly Hillbillies, rated PG. Now play at theaters everywhere.
From the director of Wayne's World, featuring Jim Varney as Jed Clampett. A pretty good cast overall. Cloris Leachman as Granny, Diedrich Bader playing I can't remember his name, the son in that here, Erica Laniak playing Ellie Mae. You also have Rob Schneider, Lily Tomlin, Dabney Coleman, Leah Thompson. It's a movie that doesn't really get a whole lot of attention. It's not one of the best TV adaptations ever, but I don't know. I thought it did a pretty good job of modernizing the story for the 90s. I thought it was very funny. There's a lot of great memorable moments in there, and there's just so many silly moments in here that you can't help but laugh about. But I actually think it's a very underrated movie. I think it's very funny. It's much more clever than I think a lot of people gave it credit for. But I think it was perfected more a couple years later when the Brady Bunch movie came out. But the Beverly Hillbillies was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed this movie a whole lot. On to the next movie, another star-studded movie that I don't think a lot of people really talk about, Judgment Night.
Judgment Night is a hair-raising, heart-stopping, nail-biting film.
Welcome to the neighborhood, boys.
An absolute must-see.
We saw a boy get murdered tonight, and if they catch us, they're gonna kill us too.
A non-stop trip that leaves you breathless.
I got a wife and a little girl, and I will get back to them tonight.
Action-packed. Edge of your seat. Excitement.
You better believe it.
Judgment Night. Rated R. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
So you got Emilio Estevez, Cuba Gooding Jr., Jeremy Piven, and Stephen Dorff playing a group of friends who are on the run from a gang of drug dealers after they witness a murder, and the leader of the drug dealers is Dennis Leary. And while it's not a great movie overall, I actually found it pretty enjoyable. It's a movie that has a lot of good action in it. These actors really give good performances. It's very dark, very gritty. And it's just a really solid film. It's a really good movie that has a lot of good performances, good action. Kind of an underrated movie. Definitely check it out, Judgment Night. Anyway, on to the next movie, Mr. Wonderful.
See, what we got here is an attitude problem.
Yeah, well, the good news is we're divorced.
I'm gonna find you a Mr. Wonderful.
Imagine trying to find a new husband.
Here I am. Culture, culture, culture.
For the ex-wife you still love.
I kept thinking you'd come walking back any minute.
Matt Dillon, Annabella Sciorra, Mary Louise Parker, and William Hurt. Critics call it funny, fresh, and romantic. Mr. Wonderful, directed by Anthony Minghella, rated PG-13. Now playing at a
Is this what divorced couples really do? Do they really just go like, you know what, I'm going to help you. You know what, I know you divorced me. I know you split up with me after so many years, but you know what, I'm going to help you find a guy. And it's just like, do people really do that? I don't think they do. And I don't think this movie really knew exactly what they were trying to do here. I think they were just trying to go off of the cast that they have in here. And I don't think the movie ended up doing all that well. I didn't see this movie, but it's directed by Anthony Minghella, who would later go on to direct The English Patient, which won Best Picture. Definitely doesn't look like one of his stronger movies, unfortunately. So that's Mr. Wonderful. On to the next movie, and that is Rudy.
When I grow up, I'm going to play football at Notre Dame.
When people say dreams don't come true,
You don't have to prove nothing to nobody except yourself.
tell them about Rudy. Rudy, rated PG. Now playing.
an overall kind of decent movie. I mean, Sean Astin does get a chance to shine here playing the lead character, but we've seen this done before over and over again in other sports movies. I don't think this one really does a whole lot that's completely different than any of the other movies that are very much like this. And you can see why it's been satirized so many times in various movies and TV shows. And I mean, like I said, it's not a bad movie, but it's just one that it's fine for what it is. But to consider it one of the great sports movies of all time, I've seen a lot of sports movies that are much better than this one, honestly. But still a decent film overall, not a bad film whatsoever. Yeah, Rudy, it's a good film. It's a good film. So anyway, on to the next movie, and that is Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Pictures. 'Twas the night before Christmas, but in the land of Halloween, it was decided that this year something new would be seen. Surprised, aren't you? From Tim Burton, director of Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, comes a motion picture experience unlike any other. Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
And what did Santa bring you, honey?
Rated PG. Coming this month to a theater near you.
Just an overall fantastic movie. Not just a great Halloween movie, but a great Christmas movie. I like that this is probably one of the few movies that successfully combines two holidays into one and makes for a really entertaining movie with great animation, great stop-motion animation, great music, great comedy, great characters overall. Although the main villain is not that exciting. I think Oogie Boogie's probably the worst part about this movie, but even then he's not terrible, but considering how great everything else is, he's definitely the weak link in this, but I don't think I have any more to say about this one. The Nightmare Before Christmas is just a phenomenal movie. It's hard not to watch it every single year, whether it's Halloween or Christmas time. It's one you got to watch over and over again. So, yeah, that's Nightmare Before Christmas. On to the next movie, and that is Fearless.
Surviving the crash of Flight 202 left Max Klein with an extraordinary sense of life.
You want to kill me, but you can't!
The critics have called Fearless a spellbinding visionary film. Fearless soars.
You walked away from that crash with taste and touch and beauty of life.
Let me be part of it.
Jeff Bridges, Isabella Rossellini, and Rosie Perez. Fearless, directed by Peter Weir.
Very underrated film from Peter Weir, starring Jeff Bridges and Rosie Perez, Isabella Rossellini, John Turturro, and it's just an aspiring movie. The visuals in this movie are amazing to look at, and it's really incredible seeing Bridges giving one of his strongest performances in this film, and it's just an overall enjoyable film. The performances overall carry the movie, and just the story alone is unique and very creative. And you could definitely get invested in this and feel emotionally charged by it as well. It's just a great film all around. Definitely a movie that doesn't get a whole lot of it doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but it is a really good movie. It's a very well-made film. One of the year's most underrated movies, honestly. That's Fearless. Moving on to the next movie, and that is Farewell, My Concubine.
The critics say Farewell, My Concubine is one of the year's best films, on over 50 top 10 lists. Nominated Best Foreign Language Film. Winner, Best Supporting Actress. Gong Li is magnificent. Farewell, My Concubine is stunningly beautiful. A must-see. Winner, Best Picture, Cannes Film Festival. Farewell, My Concubine, a film by Chen Tai-ga. Rated R.
You're basically following a political, tumultuous 20th century China from the early days of the Republic of China to the aftermath of the Cultural Revolution. It chronicles the troubling relationships between Peking opera actors and lifelong friends. And I haven't seen this movie. I haven't heard anything about it, except I heard it's got a lot of positive reviews for it, and it's considered one of the great movies to come out of China. So that's pretty much all I know about it. And I mean, it could be good. It does look visually impressive, but that's just what I've heard about it. I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it too much. So that's Farewell, My Concubine. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is $20.
Tomorrow's jackpot will reach a whopping $14 million.
Ah, yes! 3342. This bill is my destiny! Son of a bitch!
For most immigrants, it's the Statue of Liberty, the New York skyline. But for me, it was that $20 bill.
it as your wedding present.
This is the bachelor party?
What a pleasant surprise.
If Daddy can't trust you with a simple $20 bill, how's he ever going to trust you with $20 million?
You can have this back.
Kathy, let's go.
There's luck, and there's fate.
I'm looking for a partner.
Are you freaking crazy?
I don't even know you. The time is right. I feel inspired. Say it. 42:49.
I think Family Guy actually did something like this, where it follows the story of a $20 bill being flown around to the various characters on there. I don't know if this is true or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if Family Guy took a lot of inspiration from this movie, because it definitely has that same type of a feeling to it, and it actually looks pretty cool, by the way. Linda Hunt, Brendan Fraser, Gladys Knight, Elizabeth Shue, Steve Buscemi, Christopher Lloyd playing a robber in here is actually kind of an intriguing premise here. William H. Macy, David Schwimmer, Shohreh Aghdashloo, Spalding Gray's in here. It just looks like a very fun-looking film. It's a movie that was the only new release that came out on that particular weekend of October 22nd, I should say. And didn't get a whole lot of attention, but I don't know. It actually looks pretty cool to me, so maybe I'll try to seek this one out one day. But that's $20. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Fatal Instinct.
Come tougher than Ned Ravine.
Police emergency, I need your vehicle.
But this cop
You have the right to remain silent.
next has a soft spot. Women. But falling for this woman could be fatal.
Watch your step in here, there's a lot of blood.
Fatal Instinct, a killer comedy. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
Another one of those comedies that was trying to be like Naked Gun. It was a parody of the erotic thriller genre, and as well as being a kind of an homage to 1940s noir films, psychological thrillers. You got Armand Assante in here, as well as Sean Young, Kate Nelligan, Sherilyn Fenn, John Witherspoon you saw in there, Tony Randall's also in here. Kind of an enjoyable movie. It's definitely not as good as something like Hot Shots or The Naked Gun, but I will still gladly take this over some of the spoof movies we've gotten as of recently, and there are legitimately funny moments in there that still kind of hold up after all these years. Not a classic spoof film by any means necessary, but still a funny one. Still kind of a very funny one that I would check in on every once in a while. So definitely give it a chance. Fatal Instinct. Moving on to the next movie we have on the list, that is Deception with Andie MacDowell.
She had lost her husband forever, but she's about to discover that the past isn't over and the memory isn't dead. The questions have 100 answers. The puzzle has 1,000 pieces. And the truth is buried in 1,000,000 lies.
I wept for you. I prayed.
Did you pray?
I prayed to God to let me stop loving you.
Get an answer. Every city takes her deeper.
Do you know what thionyl chloride's used for? It's used for making poison gas.
So Andie MacDowell plays a woman who, after her businessman husband dies suspiciously in a Mexican plane crash, she begins to investigate his financial dealings, not all of which are legal, which, I don't know. I've seen, there's like 10 different movies with this title that they have here, Deception. It's not really that good of a title. I mean, the original title, Ruby Cairo, sounds much more interesting than Deception does. And judging by that trailer there, it doesn't look like it's anything unique or different. It just feels like a movie that we've seen done over and over again. You can kind of predict what the twist is going to be. So, that's pretty much all I got for you on that one. I could talk about Return of the Living Dead 3, but there's no trailer for it, so let's just jump into November. And that's where we get a ton more movies, including our first film that we have, Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan in Flesh and Bone.
They were lost when I was a baby.
She is the only witness to murder. He is her only protection from the past.
I'd forgotten about the baby.
Dennis Quaid, Meg Ryan, James Caan.
It's a shame, really. So sweet, almost innocent.
Oh my God.
But you know how I feel about loose ends.
Flesh and Bone, rated R. Starts Friday, November 5th at theaters everywhere.
Directed by the same man that did The Fabulous Baker Boys, Steve Kloves. Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid star in here. James Caan is also in here. Gwyneth Paltrow is as well. A very stylized movie, nice cinematography, and is a very interesting storyline, good acting all around. Not really much more I could say about this one. It is a very well made film. It's a very well made film, a great slow burn thriller. I really enjoyed it. So that's pretty much all I got to say about that one. Let's move on to the next movie we have here, which is RoboCop 3.
Dispatch, we have a code green.
RoboCop. The state of the art.
Police officer, no loitering.
In law enforcement technology.
I thought your ninja was supposed to take care of RoboCop for me.
RoboCop 3. Back to fight the system. Rated PG-13. Start.
One of two sequels where we take a major step down in quality that came out this weekend, and RoboCop 3 definitely is that. If you can't even get Peter Weller to come back for this one, then you know you're in some deep, deep trouble. And you can definitely see why this movie doesn't work, because it's a premise that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It completely kind of takes away from everything that the other two movies had set up, and it just wasn't a good movie at all. It was a movie that just really was a major, major misfire for the series, and it eventually killed the franchise overall. So, yeah, not much more I can say about that one, RoboCop 3. And really, we can't say much more about the next movie, Look Who's Talking Now.
Part of parenting
I don't want to go to bed. I went to bed last night.
is knowing when to say yes,
Look what we got, Mom.
knowing when to say
No!
and when to walk the dog.
I just marked that spot. Oh, well, I'll do it again tomorrow.
John Travolta, Kirstie Alley, with the voices of Danny DeVito and Diane Keaton.
Shoo-wee.
They like each other.
Mongrel. Ah, put a sock in it.
Look Who's Talking Now. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday.
R.I.P. Kirstie Alley. She died yesterday, as of the time of recording this on December 7th. So, I wish we were talking about a much better movie than this, but Look Who's Talking Now is a steaming pile of garbage. RoboCop 3 was pretty bad. This is probably even worse. I mean, when you take out one of the biggest selling points of the babies talking, and now they're all grown up, and you replace Bruce Willis and Roseanne with Danny DeVito and Diane Keaton, it should work if you had a good script for it, but not with this material, not with this whatsoever. And John Travolta, this is probably the worst part of his career. This is probably the worst movie this is one of his worst movies he ever made. It was the movie that almost killed his career until Pulp Fiction came around the year later. But man, this is a bad movie. This is a really, really bad movie. This is easily the worst of the series and one of the worst movies of the year. So yeah, Look Who's Talking Now. So, yeah, stop talking. That's pretty much all you gotta say. On to the next movie, and that is The Remains of the Day.
Is more than one of the best films of the year. Anthony Hopkins' performance is one of the greatest acting achievements ever captured on film. The Remains of the Day. Rated PG. At select theaters. Starts Friday at additional theaters.
The good Merchant Ivory movies. I've talked about some of Merchant Ivory's previous films, some of them negatively, some of them actually kind of decently well. This is one of their stronger movies. Anthony Hopkins gives a really good performance in here. Just a great cast overall. Emma Thompson, Christopher Reeve, Hugh Grant, Ben Chapin, Lena Headey, and it's just a very good movie. It's a very solid period piece film, and like I said, it's one of the best movies Merchant Ivory have ever done. So, not much more to say about that one. The Remains of the Day. So, moving on to the next movie, Kathy Bates in A Home of Our Own.
Kathy Bates and Edward Furlong invite you to remember just how good it can feel to be a family.
I'm going to come back there. You don't want me to come back there.
The critics say, I love this movie. I didn't want it to end. Kathy Bates is wonderful.
You'll be working under me.
I'll be working for you.
Kathy Bates in A Home of Our Own.
You got a job? Yeah. You earned $12? Yeah.
Rated PG. Starts Friday, November 5th.
Kathy Bates plays a mother of 6 who tries to establish a home in the small town of Idaho, and that's pretty much all I know about this movie. I didn't even know this even existed until I saw the trailer for it. But Eddie Furlong in another movie after Terminator 2, chance to show his acting chops. But considering that I've never heard anything about this movie until now, this movie's probably largely forgettable. So Not much more to say about that one. Home of Our Own. So, moving on to the next movie, we go to November 12th with the biggest new release of that weekend, The Three Musketeers from Disney.
I'm dangerous.
Nice shot. Help us, Musketeers.
All for one!
More for me.
I love a good adventure.
The excitement strikes November 12th. The Three Musketeers, rated PG.
So this was a movie that Disney, when they test screened this 2 months prior to it, it had the most positive response of any movie it ever had. And then when the movie came out, it was negatively panned by both critics and fans. So I'm wondering who the hell those test audiences were. Maybe they were just there. Maybe they were just so excited because they were on the Disney lot. I mean, who wouldn't be like that? But yeah, judging by this trailer, it basically looks like they're trying to copy not only just Young Guns, but hey, let's throw in a little bit of Robin Hood and Prince of Thieves because we got Bryan Adams writing a song for this. He did so well with Prince of Thieves, so I haven't seen this movie. It doesn't look anything engaging or exciting to me, but yeah, I don't have anything more to say about it. It's a movie that I don't think did very well. I don't think it's a movie that really has held up well over time, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about this one, The Three Musketeers. I've never seen it, so moving on. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is a much better movie, probably, Al Pacino in Carlito's Way.
Honor trapped him in a world of violence.
Do what you gotta do to survive.
Now he has a reason to find a way out.
The dream. I'm no closer by itself. We gotta run after it now.
I had a dream, but now I'm awake.
I gotta do this one thing, and then I'm out.
Academy Award winner Al Pacino, Sean Penn, Penelope Ann Miller.
You said you would break my heart, Charlie.
Carlito's Way, rated R. Starts Friday, November 12th at theaters everywhere.
It doesn't quite pack the same punch that Brian De Palma and Pacino's last movie they did together, Scarface, had. But this is still a fantastic movie. Pacino's still great in here. Great performances by Sean Penn and Penelope Ann Miller. Some great action, some great memorable lines. Just a phenomenal film. A script written by David Coep. Just an amazing, amazing movie. A very well-made film, largely benefiting from Pacino's performance in this, and the cast performance as well. Great film. Avoid the prequel if you can, because it's not very good. But yeah, that's Carlito's Way for you. Next movie, Michael Keaton and Nicole Kidman in My Life.
Between the wonder of how it begins and the mystery of where it ends.
I'm looking for a miracle here.
You're being miracles. Lies the experience of all our lives.
I'm gonna repeat this thing, yeah?
From the makers of Ghost. My Life. Rated PG-13. Sneak preview November.
So Michael Keaton plays a dad who's got a kid on the way, and he finds out he has kidney cancer that will leave him dead within months. So he plans to videotape his life's acquired wisdom for his child, and ends up on a voyage of self-discovery and reconciliation. This is done by written and directed by Bruce Joe Rubin, who also wrote Ghost. Doesn't have quite that same power as Ghost does, for a number of reasons, and it's a movie that I think wastes some really good performances by Keaton and Kidman, and a much better film probably could have been made about this, but honestly, the movie just didn't work for me. It didn't get the right emotions out of me, unfortunately. So it's a shame too, because it does have some promise to it, but just didn't deliver on it. Moving on to the next movie, and that is Ernest Rides Again.
It was a secret of history that couldn't stay hidden forever.
Someone is finally poking their nose about.
It was a prize too rich to ignore.
Well, that would mean that the crown jewels residing in the Tower of London are fakes.
Absolutely.
Now all the world wants what Dr. Abner Mellon has found. And only one man stands beside him.
the last Ernest movie to be released in theaters, the only one to be released by somebody not by Disney in theaters. Every movie that came after this was released direct to video, and really you can kind of see why, because this movie's not really all that interesting or exciting or funny. Like I said before, I'm just not a big fan of Ernest. The only one I really liked was Ernest Saves Christmas, but even then, it was just for the couple of things that didn't involve Ernest P. Worrell. I mean, it just didn't work for me, and I know it works for some people, but even by this point, I think people were getting very tired of this pretty quickly. So, Ernest rides again, and we move on to the next movie, and that is The Piano.
She came to a new world, to a husband she had never met, and discovered a passion that would change her life forever. The critics are calling The Piano one of the most enchanting love stories ever filmed, a triumph. Winner, Best Picture, Cannes Film Festival. Holly Hunter, Harvey Keitel, Sam Neill, The Piano, the movie event of the year, rated R. Now playing at select theaters near you.
Probably one of Jane Campion's best movies. Great Oscar-worthy performances by Holly Hunter and Anna Paquin, both who won awards. You got Harvey Keitel, Sam Neill. Just a very solid film. A nice visual-looking film. A great story to tell. Just an overall really enjoyable movie. I enjoyed this movie a whole lot. Not much more to say about that one. So we move on to November 19th. And the biggest new release that weekend, of course, was Addams Family Values.
Right now. It's the return to tradition.
Welcome home, my son.
It's the return to the great outdoors.
Summer camp.
Our Amanda's already skipped 2 grades. How about your boy?
Probation.
It's the return of family values.
You still desire me, the old ball and chain?
Forever.
I'll get them.
Addams Family Values.
What? I didn't say anything. That's the baby's nickname.
What?
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, November 19th at theaters everywhere.
A movie that really, over time, has become not only a movie that's as good as the original Addams Family movie, but I would dare to say it goes as far as being a little bit better than the first Addams Family movie. And I love the first Addams Family movie, but man, that Addams Family Values is just such a great movie. The comedy is much funnier. The visuals are much more creative. I mean, the addition of Joan Cusack as the villain is just perfection. Like, Joan Cusack in this makes this movie. She's absolutely hilarious. She has the best lines of the movie. Just phenomenal movie, mostly benefiting by her being in there. The rest of the movie itself is just a ton of fun as well, seeing these characters once again. What more do I gotta say? Addams Family Values, just a fantastic sequel. A sequel that has definitely grown on me in the many years since I've watched it the first time. Moving on to the next movie, and that is the horror film Man's Best Friend.
Man's best friend is a howl. Max the dog really has bite. Like a psychotic lassie or a canine Terminator. I was at the edge of my seat. I loved this film. Move over, Cujo, and make room for Max. Man's Best Friend, rated R, coming soon to a theater near you.
Yeah, I don't think Cujo really has a whole lot to worry about, because this movie came and went. And you could probably see why, because really it's just a knockoff of Cujo. And I'm sorry, Cujo is a much more threatening being than this dog right here. I mean, it just, I don't know, man. This just didn't really do anything for me. Like I said, it's nothing more than just a ripoff of Cujo, and not a very good one. So, really, I got nothing more on that one for you. So, Man's Best Friend. Moving on to the next movie, Denzel Washington, Danny Glover, and Matt Dillon in The Saint of Fort Washington.
A man has many possessions, as long as he has a dream. Danny Glover.
Bring home $24 today, Matthew. How you do?
Matt Dillon.
I get distracted. You do it. Man got to take responsibility for his own money.
The Saint of Fort Washington.
So you're following Matt Dillon's character, who is a young man with a good heart but suffers from schizophrenic tendencies. He ends up with nowhere to live after a slumlord tears down his tenant, and he's forced to reside at a Fort Washington armory, and bullied by punks, he turns to this military veteran who's also homeless, played by Danny Glover, for help on how to survive. Together they form a friendship that changes both of their lives forever. And a very simple premise, but it works pretty well with the performances by Dillon and Glover. They're both working off each other very well. A a very underrated movie, honestly, and nobody really ever talks about this one because it didn't do too well at the box office. But yeah, a movie that's overall pretty enjoyable. It's definitely seek this one out if you can. The State of Fort Washington. Moving on, Abel Ferrara's newest film, Dangerous Game.
His explorations of violence and redemption have shocked the world.
Fucking nightmare! With the drugs, the infidelities, the alcohol!
Now,
I need the desperation from you, Frank.
from Abel Ferrara.
And I'm not about to bare my soul to nobody, especially a God that doesn't exist.
The most controversial director in American cinema.
Because I need these things! You're building up some kind of a wall between you and the desperation.
Comes his most sensational film.
On your knees to God. Tell him what you need. I need these things!
Harvey Keitel. Madonna. James Russo.
I need these things!
Dangerous Game.
Yeah, Bad Lieutenant, this really is not. This is a movie that just really is just a major misfire on so many levels. It wastes really good performances by Harvey Keitel and Madonna trying her best, but it just doesn't work. It's a movie that's trying to be a film within a film. It's trying to be something along the lines of Abel Ferrara as a movie character, and it just doesn't have that. It just doesn't have anything of interest, anything exciting to tell. It's a movie we've seen done much better in other movies that are much better than this, and it's just a movie that's really, it just doesn't work. It's just plain and simple. It just does not work. It's not enjoyable. It's not engaging. It's a very forgettable movie. One of the worst movies of the year. So that's Dangerous Game. Let's move on to Thanksgiving weekend, and the biggest new release that weekend was, of course, Robin Williams in Mrs. Doubtfire.
As kids, I need to be with my children. Daniel Hillard was ready for anything.
Hello!
Now, ready or not,
One drop hot tea. Would you like another one?
Oh, there you go.
here comes Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, sir, the terrorists, they ran that way. It was a run by fruiting.
Robin Williams is Mrs. Doubtfire. A father's work is never done.
Mrs. Doubtfire. You're hurrying to the men's room.
Rated PG-13. Starts Wednesday, November 24th at theaters everywhere.
Mrs. Doubtfire, directed by Chris Columbus of Home Alone fame. It's pretty much Tootsie for a new generation, and I think in some ways it's a little bit better than Tootsie, but in other ways, Tootsie's a lot better than this movie, but still a very fun movie. It's Robin Williams showcasing what he does best. Sally Field's very good in here as well. Pierce Brosnan is very funny in here. There's a lot of good funny moments all throughout the film. It has its good emotional moments as well. It's a very solid film. It's a movie that it's hard not to go back to every single time, and you'll immediately keep falling in love with it every time you watch it. And it's a great movie. Great film all around. So, next movie, Clint Eastwood's A Perfect World with Kevin Costner.
STV calls A Perfect World amazing and unforgettable.
We got an armed killer and an innocent boy out there.
One of the best American films in years.
You know, Philip, you have American Ride. We call it Kenny Ride Roller Coaster.
Masterfully directed by Clint Eastwood.
This is not a penal escape situation. This happens to be a manhunt.
Kevin Costner's finest performance.
You're not bad, are you, Boo?
Oh yeah. A Perfect World. Rated PG-13. Starts November 24th everywhere.
Another great movie by Clint Eastwood coming off of the success of Unforgiven. Just an overall really enjoyable film. He works very well with the acting in here. Kevin Costner is great in here. The young boy in here, TJ Lower, is very good. Laura Dern has a good performance in here. The visuals are very nice to look at. The directing is very good. Editing, the writing, the score. Just another great movie by Eastwood. A very well-made film. Probably not as memorable as some of his more notable movies, but still a great film regardless. Definitely check it out, A Perfect World. So, alright, next up, the Universal animated film We're Back, A Dinosaur Story.
Dinosaurs.
I'm very pleased to meet you.
Too civilized for their time.
We've evolved.
Now they're having the time of their lives. voices of John Goodman.
Where is Central Park?
Jay Leno.
You're gonna love this.
Martin Short.
I like comedy myself.
And Walter Cronkite.
Try not to step on anybody.
We're back. A dinosaur story. Rated G. Starts Wednesday, November 24th at theaters everywhere.
Another one of those movies you watch as a lot as a kid, and then you go back to it and you realize that, oh wait, this movie wasn't very good at all. I mean, animation-wise, it looks really good. I mean, it's a movie that has some nice animation to it, a really solid voice cast to it, but as far as the story itself goes, it's nothing really all that interesting, or doesn't make a whole lot of sense, honestly. But I'll give it credit, though. There are still moments in there that still hold a nostalgic feeling to it. I mean, just the way some of the animation is, the ending of the movie is sticks in my memory very well. Certainly not a bad movie, but certainly not a great movie either. But it's one of those ones where I go back to, and it's just like, it's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. I know it's not a very good movie, but it's fine for what it is. We're back at Dinosaur Story. So moving on to the next movie, and that is Josh and Sam.
In 2 weeks, they've traveled 5,000 miles in a stolen Grand Prix. They're wanted for assault in the state of Texas and credit card fraud in 3 other states. They're hungry. They're tired. They're headed for the Canadian border, and there's only one thing that can stop them. The 7th grade.
I remember seeing this trailer all over the place when I used to watch videos from New Line and Columbia back in the day. That trailer is much more memorable probably than the movie itself. The story basically follows 2 young brothers who run away from home due to emotional conflicts over the divorce of their parents. And if that's really what you need to do to get a story done, then you probably need to think of a better story than that, because that does not sound all that investing whatsoever. It sounds like you're trying to force a movie out of something that really can't be made into a movie. And judging by that fact that I remember the trailer more than the movie, that probably tells you everything you need to know. So yeah, Josh and Sam. Moving on to the next movie, and that is George Balanchier's The Nutcracker.
In a child's eye, a bit of light can be a snowflake. A flash of color can be a Christmas tree. A wooden toy can be a hero. This holiday season, let the magic of imagination take flight. As Macaulay Culkin joins the New York City Ballet to bring a timeless classic to life. George Balanchier's The Nutcracker. Now the magic is a movie.
That's another trailer I remember used to watching a lot when I was a kid. Like, you'd watch the videos for Free Willy, and it'd be the first trailer you'd see on there. And the director of this, Emilio Ardolino, who also did Dirty Dancing as well as Sister Act, he actually died a couple of days before the movie was released. And you know what? As far as Nutcracker adaptations go, this is probably the best one, and yet it's still a very flawed movie. It's interesting to see Macaulay Culkin in there with the New York Ballerina Corporation, or whoever the company was that was in the trailer that I just saw. Good lord! But considering that every other studio has tried to tell this story and has failed miserably because of it, this is probably the one that has come the closest to actually getting it done right for the most part. And this is from the same studio that had done the Nutcracker Prince 4 years prior, which was not very good. The New York City Ballet was what it was called. Good Lord. I'm getting delusional here, but we're almost done. So, overall, yeah, I like this Nutcracker. Not a great adaptation, but it's certainly better than some of the other ones we've gotten. We're finally moving into the last two movies here. December 3rd, we'll start off with A Dangerous Woman, starring Deborah Winger.
The become of a woman who won't stand for lies in a world that can't handle the truth.
You understand that you can go to prison for the rest of your life for this?
Deborah Winger.
I don't lie.
Barbara Hershey.
Can't protect anyone's reputation. What matters now is you.
Gabriel Byrne.
Sometimes we have to tell lies just to get to the truth.
You think you know everything about me? Don't know anything.
A Dangerous Woman, rated R. Starts tomorrow at select theaters.
The biggest problem this movie has is that it can't decide what it wants to be. The trailer has trouble figuring out what it wants to be. Does it want to be this sweet romantic drama about this lonely woman trying to find life in the world, or does it want to be a psychological thriller? In the end, this is what you'd expect it to be, kind of a melodramatic soap opera. It's like you're watching episodes of Young and the Restless and General Hospital back-to-back, only with bigger name stars attached to it. It tries hard to make the performances stand out, but you can't get over the fact that the film doesn't work because it really is nothing but a soap opera. Every single aspect you expect the soap opera is thrown into this film. It's not done well at all. Has a hard time figuring out what it wants to be. Has decent performances to kind of lift it up a bit, but they deserved a much better film than this. So that's my thoughts on A Dangerous Woman. Now let's get on to the last movie that we have here, and that is the start of Krzysztof Kieslowski's Three Colors trilogy, Blue.
Vous montrer quelque chose de ce que vous avez composé? Sur un violon?
Les altos. Et maintenant?
So Juliette Binoche plays a woman whose husband and child were killed in a car accident. Suddenly set free from her usual bond, she attempts to cut herself off from everything and live in isolation for her former ties. But she finds that she cannot free herself from human connections. The movie kind of is, according to Kieslowski, it's supposed to be the subject of the movie is liberty, specifically emotional liberty, rather than its social political meaning. And it's definitely doing that. Like, it's a movie that I can definitely see a lot of people kind of relating to. It's a very solid movie. These Three Colors movies overall are very well-made movies by Krzysztof Kieslowski. He does a very good job with these films. We're going to get to the other two when we get to 1994, but just a fantastic film, a really good, well-made movie. Just for Binoche's performance alone, it's a film that works really well. Just such a great film, a visually pleasing-looking film. I love it so much. We'll get to the other ones later on, but great start to this Three Colors trilogy, Blue. And just like that, we finished up another 2 months worth of movies here on this time about the movies thing that we're doing. Tomorrow we'll wrap it up. We've got only 4 weeks worth of films to look at, but some notable movies that I'm definitely looking forward to talking about. Beethoven 2nd, Wayne's World 2, Sister Act 2, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, Schindler's List. Just so many other movies that we're going to be talking about on this as we wrap up 1993 tomorrow. But so far these have been going pretty good. They've been trying me in terms of actually filming all these little reviews and the clips. But I did pretty well for these two. These two were the longest ones that I was going to do. Like I said, we only have 4 weeks worth of films to look at left in 93. So tomorrow's episode should not be as tough. But we will get to those when we get to those. So anyway, thank you very much for sticking it out with me again. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll be back tomorrow to wrap up 1993. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.